Hello, everyone, and welcome to Finding Serenity. If you found this podcast is for anybody, any human being seeking serenity. And the general focus tonight will be loving an alcoholic is hard. And you can
So hard.
substitute anybody with addiction. Loving anyone with addiction is hard. And
So hard.
yeah, so just kind of take it away, Rhonda. What are your thoughts?
Well, I had something happen today. Somebody who I very deeply care about struggling with the disease of alcoholism is off the wagon. And that person, highly intelligent person, beautiful person, a caring, loving person, was got in trouble with the police because he was became combative. Got really intoxicated and got combative. The police came. He was at an expensive hotel, and I think the police he got in he started assaulting the police officer and then fell a couple of times and got all bloody, and then, the police felt sorry for him and took him to the hospital, and instead of, pressing charges, which would have been so good, like, that might have helped that person find their bottom sooner, he got rescued, and then his family came to the hospital all worried, about this person, and so I don't know what happened since, but, I think loving a person with the disease of addiction is so unbelievably hard.
Yeah, and I would think a lot of people listening might be like, man, that Rhonda is punitive. That guy caught a break. I mean, those cops were compassionate. Like, what do you kind of mean by letting someone hit bottom? What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, what my biggest concern is because he got saved. He got rescued. He was like falling, 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 and then he got rescued at the bottom. And
Uh,
so he may not seek help. He may just come back. His family will take him home. He'll come back, get drunk tomorrow, possibly do the same thing, possibly die tomorrow.
right, right. And what's the hardest thing you think about loving somebody with addiction? That's a Rhonda issue, maybe not a addict or alcoholic issue.
I really think the hardest thing about I mean, I think this is what you mean. I'm not sure, JD, but I think the hardest thing is worrying that someone that you love is gonna die.
Right. Can't do anything about it.
Can't do anything about it. Can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's so sad and to feel so powerless. And I don't know. You bring something up that's interesting to me. I'll see what your thoughts are. Hitting bottom. Now, a lot of people think you got to hit bottom to get better. And I think a lot of people think hitting bottom would be getting arrested. Maybe seeing a video of you all combative, maybe having to go wear an orange jumpsuit, sit in jail. But I don't know. I think most people that go to jail for drug and alcohol related offenses, most of them go back to jail.
That's a good point.
You know, it's like,
Good point. I
because I
mean,
experienced the consequences, and typically for me, is I'm right at like that motherfucking cop had it out for me. I go experience consequences and have this incredible mitigating, rationalizing mind that says, no, it wasn't my behavior. Clearly, detectives know they don't believe alcohol was involved, but it's like, no, I mismanaged my medication. I was stressed, all these excuses. But
it is so many excuses, JD. I mean, like, seriously, and especially if the person is blacked out when they're doing that and they have no recollection. So there's no truth. Like, unless there was like a video at the hotel, right? Where they can show them. But even then, they're going to maybe say other excuses.
AI, that shit was doctored, man. You've been throwing that video evidence at me, girl. It's,
That is
you know,
so
I,
messed up.
yeah, it really is. And
Can I say one other thing about this whole
please,
thing?
uh,
Because it's also I think you made a good point because I've talked to people that did not hit like rock hard bottom, like they had a soft landing, and they changed.
that's
They
it.
changed.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know when I don't get it. I don't get what helps people change. I know for me in Al-Anon, you know, I was just going, here I am, a psychologist, a mental health professional, and I was going along, and I was going along, going along, going along. I was pretty depressed. I would say there was times when I might have even, I wasn't like actively suicidal, but I had like thoughts about death and would life be better, if I was out of this. But I think that I just decided I couldn't take it anymore, the situation I was in. And that initially, I was blaming the alcoholic, but it really wasn't the alcoholic, it was me. But I don't know what gets people to change.
That's where I was going with this, I think, is that's what bottom is in its, I've heard it defined as, well, you hear these things in recovery, like, "Drop the shovel. It's when you stop digging." But, like, people don't know what the fuck that means. But I heard that it's and I believe this, and it's what you just said. It's bottom is when I decide to stop lying to myself. I can piss and moan, "Oh my god, look what alcohol did to me. I'm broken. I'm in jail again." But if I don't do something after that, it's just some awareness. And so when I stop lying to myself, and I think that's what a large part of this podcast is designed to do is uncover the lies I'm telling myself. Unfortunately, it's a lie that it's the other person's fault. It's the alcoholic's fault. If only they just sober up, I'd be okay. That's not true. And so, yeah. And how do I stop lying to myself? That takes time because I think what other people, family members, maybe especially, professionals can see clearly, the alcoholic can't see. And it takes time, recovery, healing, the brain. They're wired to just lie and make excuses. And you're not all of a sudden going to like be sobered up and then flick a light switch. And part of the reason for these lies and these excuses is like, the brain, like it's entered, I believe, this need for alcohol, like the survival brain, and it's not conscious. And so telling the truth in active addiction, if I might have shared this before, but if I get pulled over, which I was a lot, and I'm like, "Yeah, officer, there's about a pound of felony dope in my trunk, and I've been drinking beer all day long. I'm going to jail." And if I get home and my girlfriend's like, "Where in the hell have you been?" And I'm like, "Well, I've been smoking crack with the judge and this crazy chef Ken at the walk-in at Coco's," she's gonna leave me, So I have to lie, and they become the truth to me. I'm drinking because of this. I'm drinking because of that,
Yeah.
and I think on video, I don't know if I shared this, but I think the way I kind of describe that mental obsession and the liar for an addict, an alcoholic, I use those words interchangeably, someone with the disease of addiction, substance use disorder, severe, is it's not just the body, it's the mind. And the mind is like this great rationalizer. And the way I've been kind of explaining it lately is like we're being recorded right now. If I decide, like, and I'm sitting next to you, and the only way I want that necklace of yours, and the only way I can get it is to rip it off your neck. And let's just say we got a live audience, right? And so it's caught on camera. I got a new necklace. There's video evidence and 10 witnesses. When I go to court, I want the lawyer who will convince the judge and jury either that I didn't do that or I had a damn good reason to do it. And whatever the reason your friend went out and drank after some time sober, it made perfect sense up here. And I don't think it
It's remarkable.
shows to become combative, get arrested, fall down, and all that. And
What about the lies of the family, that the family members are telling themselves that they can save that person?
that's a,
I
it's
can save them. If I'm gonna get them out of the hospital, I'm gonna stay at home with them, I'm gonna watch everything that they do, and I'm gonna keep them from drinking.
That's why and how I believe bottom is when I stop lying to myself is, let's just say I go to Al-Anon or I go to a therapist and I'm going to sit and probably complain and list off every crazy, stupid thing they've done and every brilliant, virtuous thing I've done, from building up their esteem to driving them to meetings to giving sex to safeguarding their wallet to stern lectures, to think about the kids. If I finally stick around long enough to list off all those things, I might find I've hit bottom. Everything I've tried is what a rational person would do, and it's an irrational disease. And, if someone had the cure for it, they'd be sitting on a pile of fucking gold.
Yeah.
There's 2 billion treatment centers. There's people that have the same licensure I have that don't believe it's a disease. There all sorts of stuff, but their behavior, and I was, and this is a totally different context. And it wasn't me being paranoid and just complaining about somebody. Somebody impacting my life years ago was clearly not well position of power. I was talking to some people in recovery who have a long term recovery. And they said, homeboy, you need to stop trying to psychoanalyze and figure out crazy. You will go crazy along with them. And so, yeah, it's like so much of serenity is bringing the control, the locus of control inward. But then it's like, I'm outraged. If this idiot would just sober up, man, I'd be all right. And look at all these sweet things I've done for 'em. Then they sober up and then we're like, "What the fuck can't you see?" They expect to be trusted right away. They don't remember stuff. And, yeah. So it's like either kind of focus on me or have fun, and that's where all those silly slogans in recovery, let go or be dragged. I get that up here, but I don't know how to let go. It's maddening.
I'm sure that that's the case with that family. I think that when people are so worried that their loved one is going to die, that it is that fear, that anxiety is blinding. Just it's a blinding fear, and I think that, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, I've been in so many Al-Anon meetings, parent meetings, where parents are talking about their children who are struggling with the disease of addiction, and that seems like that's the number one fear, that their kid is gonna die, and it's blinding, but they have to I mean, I but that blind fear is driving behavior that can enables the ongoing disease, and it's just so awful.
And that's it. As long as somebody with the disease of addiction knows they're gonna use it, even if it's where they're not. Like, and they'd pass a lie detector test. But yeah, putting somebody out, and it's like, people again, I think everybody, addicts too, would never trade the, insanity and pain they know for the chaos, pain, and insanity of where is he? 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 Then they die or they go to jail and they're like, it's my fault. I just let him stay in the house, drink, make my life miserable. And yeah, it's it's kind of an awful place to be. And but yeah, alcoholics, knowingly or not, I choose to say not knowingly, will start fights, emotionally manipulate, make emotional attack, make promises, do all the stuff, usually subconsciously because the loved ones are a threat to them drinking. And yeah, and you're not going to go reason with that. It's impossible, and it's yeah, not just they're not just like sick when they're drunk. And that's just the same thing with a family member. Just because they're sober now, people just go seek relief. And then once the loved one gets sober, they're like, okay, I'm good. But they're not treating their control issues. That's dishonesty. They're not treating their resentment and fear. They're not treating their dishonesty. Have you ever called in sick for your husband or your wife? Have you ever not gone to a party because of that or said they just mismanaged some medication? They have a stomach ache. Those are lies, you know,
Yeah.
for good reason. I don't want the shame. I don't want someone blaming me because my husband's drunk, my wife's drunk. So yeah, it's just like this crazy level of projection and shame and blame. And rather than like, I got a sick mother on my hands, man, and I can't fix them. So I either kind of work on myself or keep kind of banging my head against the wall.
Well, I think, so the title of our podcast is Finding Serenity. So in this situation when there's a crisis, because this today for me, it sounded like for my dear friend and their family, it was a crisis. And if you were sponsoring, I want to ask you, so if you were sponsoring the parent of this person and the parent is in a crisis, their kid is possibly this didn't happen, but it could have been he could have been facing felony charges. He could have killed himself in that state, right? I mean, the police were involved. He got all bloody. They could have tasered him. They could have had a heart attack. Who knows? They could have shot him. How do we help a parent find serenity when they're
It's a great question.
out of control?
I wish there was a playbook, but I guess I'd start with saying, "Man, I feel you," and I'd try to listen to them, and then I'd maybe just remind them you have choices. You can go visit them in the hospital. You could have them come live with you. You could tell them I'll pay for a lawyer. Do not call me until you have 90 days clean. I will not pay for a lawyer. I thought I was going to pay for a lawyer, but now I just decided, no, I'm not gonna. Like, there's all these choices, and none of them are easy to make, you know, because sometimes maybe one more time isn't the loved one's mental obsession. One more time, maybe they will change. But, is like, how do I let them know they have choices? You know?
Do you think that asking for 90 days, do you think a loved one saying, I'll talk to you in 90 days after you've been going to AA and you have a sponsor? I mean, is that a reasonable thing?
I think so. I just like to give people as many choices as possible. Say, make it 10 days. That's too long. I say, all right, make it 10 days, make it an hour. It's really, really hard. And if I suggest to go to a meeting, they'd probably do what an alcoholic would do. Well, yeah, but I got too much going on. I'm too busy. I'm too stressed. And it's like, yeah, that's when you're supposed to go. And I would really encourage them to go to this meeting you're talking about that has people that are going through and have been through the same thing they're going through.
That parent meeting, yeah, that's a
It'll
great meeting.
break your brain because it's like anytime it's healthy to enlist other people in your decision making. But I'll tell you what'll break my brain. If three people tell me you can't protect someone from their consequences, cut them off. And the other three people will be like, pay for a lawyer, give them one more chance. The two other people will be like, just pray for them. You're going to, it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
How do you go take care of yourself? Why don't you go out to dinner? Why don't you go take a hot tub? Why don't you journal and call me and write down? I'll listen to whatever you have to say. Just kind of puke it all out.
You know what? Can I just say one thing about what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so let's say the parent is in a crisis, right? You know, their kid's in legal trouble, they're in the hospital, they're off the wagon. If you were at Al-Anon and you called your sponsor and your sponsor said that to you, look, you have choices, laid it out and said to you, I'm gonna listen to you. You can call me whenever. I'm just gonna listen to you. That sounds awesome. I mean, I could see like how that could be like a lifeline to serenity,
Yeah.
having someone there for you when you're, like, in the middle of your worst possible nightmare.
Right. And that's the thing that I'm so grateful for is I have people for situations like this or a bad day at work, not getting my way, getting my heart broken, somebody dying. And someone new would be like, are you out of your mind? Go to a meeting full of strangers. And most people, family members, my experience, it's the same as with alcoholics and addicts. They go to a meeting, they instantly determine two things. We're different, and everyone here just sits and complains, and it's morbid. All the same. And I'm like, you sound like your husband. You sound like your kid. And they're like, how dare you? And I'm like, if that's truly what group peer support recovery looked like, it wouldn't fucking exist. And one of my favorite kind of the stereotypes of AA in the past was like, it's just a bunch of dumb old alcoholic white men tallying up their DUIs and talking about how awful their shrewish controlling wives are. And that Al Anon meetings are a bunch of shrewish wives talking about how tyrannical and abusive their stupid husbands are. That's not what those programs are. Are there
Yeah,
people in pain there? Yeah. Are there people that complain? Yeah. But if you haven't hit bottom, you will not look for similarities. You won't go find someone to talk to till you actually get someone to hear you.
yeah. Those meetings are lifelines, both AA and Al-Anon, really. JD, I have another practical can a can an alcoholic go to an AA meeting intoxicated?
Yeah. Yeah. You'll see that. And in good, strong meetings, you'll find people that have been there a while. If the person's becoming disruptive, you watch it, and it's really special to watch. Is the couple of them will just go grab the person and go talk to them outside. Be like, here, just come yell at us, come talk to us. So, yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about it. And people are like, oh my God, I went to a meeting and there was somebody who was mentally ill and somebody who talked about getting high that day. Like, that's what it's fucking for. It's not a bunch of healthy people healthy all the time. And so, yeah,
That is pretty special.
It's really special to watch, and it can be pretty scary, but yeah, all are welcome, and, there aren't too many places like that. So it's just I just think that finding excuse me,
Shoot.
finding people that have been through it and are going through it is the only way to start. And most people they're afraid to do that. There's still all this stigma years and years after, you know. And so a lot of people take that intellectual approach. Well, I'll get the literature and I'll answer the questions on my own. And there's nothing wrong with that. But who are you going to share them with, you know? And what's your insight, you know? I mean, so it's just I don't know. One of the strategies too, I think, and it kind of involves learning as much as you can about what the disease of addiction is.
You mean,
And
for the alcoholic or for the person that loves the
the
alcoholic?
person who loves the alcohol
You
is
know
like,
what? That really helped me
you know,
learning about, you know what? Even though I was a mental health professional, I really did not know that much about the disease of alcoholism, even when I was living with a person who was abusing alcohol for many, many years. I still didn't know about it. But once I realized my situation and that I was so unhappy, I started reading about the disease of alcoholism, and that helped me so much.
it
Yeah.
really does. You know,
Mhm.
I work in a treatment center, and the disease of addiction doesn't typically show up there with people using fentanyl, marijuana, Chardonnay, whatever the drug of preference is. It shows up with the symptoms and behaviors that every person with the disease of addiction has, whether they're turning tricks for a hit of crack or whether they're in the country club. And those symptoms are what we talk about a lot in this podcast: deflection, blame, shame, resentment, minimization, suck at asking for help, black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking, hopelessness, arrogance, dismissiveness, obsession, compulsion, manipulation, passive aggressiveness. And yeah, those things don't even go away when you get sober. So it shows up that way. So if I know that's how the disease of addiction is showing up, it at least explains some behavior and is like, wait a minute. And, you know, the person with addiction is completely unaware they're doing all those things. They're just like hardwired to be doing
It's
that.
really amazing. They really are, like, they really don't see it at all, you know? It's amazing.
Nothing. Don't see
Nothing. Don't
anything. I
see it.
mean, you know, I joke around about being a member of this ZFAC club, Zero Fucking Awareness Club, right? But I remember being in treatment and, you know, they were saying like in the AA book, you know, resentment's the number one offender. And I'm like, I'm only mad at myself. I believed that with no awareness, literally for 2 straight weeks in treatment, I'm storming out of groups, screaming at people, just screaming at people. And if they bring up an issue in group, like, you know, I'm like, you know, screw this person in my family, screw you, you know it all, this or that. Again, livid, blood boiling anger. And I still really think I'm only mad at myself, which I am, but I can't see it, you know? And I'm so used to just screaming at people, it doesn't seem odd to me.
I know that the words you're saying are truth. I mean, I've seen that, and I've seen that in my practice, you know, like, with parents of children, because 'cause I'm seeing the children, but the parents, it's like in the affidavit of removals, all these things, these same things. It's just unbelievable. I mean, like, it's really cunning, baffling, and what's the other word that they use? Powerful. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really powerful.
Yeah, you know, so, yeah, if I love somebody with it, detachment feels cold, and, you know, but then I go to Al-Anon because 'cause I'm following directions, and I think I can just read the pamphlet on detachment and master it. Good luck, you know? I've gotta fail at it, succeed at it, rail at how stupid it is and cruel, think I've mastered it, let it slip out of my hands, like, it's
So
just
hard.
there's no perfection, there's no mastery, and
I mean, I've been in Al-Anon for 8 years now, and I'm still these kinds of things. I mean, I have good days when I'm really good at it, days when I'm really terrible at it. It's hard. I
yeah.
mean, and I think it depends on your relationship with the person that you're struggling with, you know? It's really complicated, and especially the parent-child relationship, so complicated. I mean, really, going to those parent meetings and having people talk about I mean, just the pain of people talking about worrying about that their child was gonna die as a result of the disease of alcoholism, and knowing very well that they might is so it's so unbelievably painful, like, it is just excruciating, really.
Yeah, and it is. There's just like, yeah, I hope this isn't making people feel hopeless,
No. I mean, I
but
think
it
there
could.
is hope. There
It
is hope, though,
Well,
right?
whether the alcoholic is drinking or not, and that's about as impossible to imagine for a loved one as not drinking and actually being happy as an alcoholic who's not drinking. I mean, I was like, no way, no way. Is there any way I could enjoy life without drugs and alcohol? Even though they're killing me. So yeah, it's. I wish I had an answer, and the
Well, I
answers really are like, can I go talk to somebody? Can I? And the whole thing about boundaries and enabling and all that, we just kind of use buzzwords as like, does the boundary need to be rigid? Enabling starts from a place of love. Like, is it in balance? Is it not? Like, and so I just think people like reminding them they have choices, but what I've found typically, and so much of what 12 step talks about is, when all else fails, work with somebody else who's struggling with the same thing. And it doesn't necessarily mean like get into the big book, get into the literature, pray together. It could just be like, how are you doing? Kind of music do you like, And in the moments that we're either focused on trying to help someone else or talking to someone else, I'm not kicking the can down the road or avoiding my issue, but I'm okay. And the longer I'm okay, maybe the front of my brain opens and I'm like, wait a minute, this is the choice I do want to make, and then try it out, see how it goes. But I just think everybody wants the quick fix. I really do believe that everybody who takes a drug for alcohol, for depression or anxiety or bipolar, anybody who goes to a treatment center for addiction, any family member who sends their loved one to a treatment center for addiction, I believe some of them consciously, most of them not. Most of them will deny it. They think they're gonna get fixed, and it's like, nope, nope, there ain't no cure. People can learn some skills a day at a time. Maybe some antidepressant medication might even you out enough to start to do some work, but it sure as hell isn't gonna take away fear or trauma or shame or make you comfortable opening up. You gotta
that's right.
practice those things or not, you know? But I just think the family members have so much of the same shame that gets covered up with blame and anger. And then the alcoholic is like, you've shamed me and you don't love me. And that's all emotional manipulation, projection, stuff we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about. But yeah, as you're talking, like, I'm like, how does a mother find serenity if she don't know where her kid is?
Well, I do think that there is hope and that, you know, like going to a meeting, I think really is more the best solution when there's a crisis going on. Because in those meetings, people have been there and they have survived and they have gotten through and they are most of them have joy in their lives despite the crises that they've been in, and having someone walk with you during your crisis until you get through the other side is really a powerful thing. And the thing that also I think is so powerful about these meetings is that it's peer to peer and it's not a professional. It's not, it's someone who has had the same experience you have had and they have gotten through it. And so it is very powerful, very, very powerful. And there's no money exchange. It's just people helping people because they have been there before and they know how it feels.
And that's the one thing that I hope people get if they go to a meeting, even if they don't like it, don't understand it, whatever. You don't have to like it or understand. If you wait till you like it or understand it to go back, you're screwed. But it's to get out of this, in my mind, dishonesty that I'm alone, not. And, so that's kind of a
That's
humility
true.
issue is like, wait a minute, I'm not alone. And I'll end with this. You'd hear this a lot in some meetings and they would be like, get rid of your terminal uniqueness. And that would just feed into my belief that 12 step recovery, all this garbage was just going to turn me into some sheep, right? Miserable 9 to 5, uttering slogans I see on bumper stickers. But what they mean is this uniqueness. I'm alone. No one else has a problem like me.
Self pity.
Yeah, That's another one of the symptoms and behaviors of everybody with the disease of addiction. And he's like, no, get rid of that. And if you actually work on those things and get honest about that stuff, you might actually become the unique, beautiful person you were meant to be all along. The fear doesn't cover it up. The dope doesn't cover it up. The booze doesn't cover it up. But it's
And denial for the Al-Anons. I mean, it's the same thing in Al-Anon. You have to shrink your ego because there's a lot of ego wrapped up in the other person. You have to shrink all that so that you can become the beautiful person that you truly are
for
and
sure.
figure that out.
Right on.
Okay. Ciao.
Cool. Thank you.